Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're opening up a topic that's really foundational. It touches on language, learning, maybe the whole nature of how we know things.
Absolutely. We're looking at this really pivotal academic question from way back in 1977 from linguist Ann Peters.
Right. And our sources suggest this question seriously challenged the way people thought about knowledge itself.
Oh, definitely. You have to remember the context. The 1970s, that was like peak positivism in academia.
High positivism, yeah. Psychology education. Linguistics, too.
All of them. Pretty much tethered to behaviorist precision, as one source puts it. The idea was truth has to be measured, broken down, proven in the lab.
So Peters comes along and asks this seemingly simple question: does the whole equal the sum of the parts? But it wasn't simple at all, was it?
Not in that climate. No, it was almost, well, metaphysical rebellion, like you said earlier. Everyone assumed the whole was just the sum of its parts. The job was finding the smallest bits.
And Peters was suggesting, what? That meaning wasn't built up piece by piece.
Exactly. She proposed that meaning starts with wholes of experience, things like emotional tone, the rhythm of speech, these sort of tonal gestalts.
Gestalts? Like patterns?
Kind of, yeah. Big, unanalyzed chunks of meaning. This idea, it basically violated the core belief system of the time about what counts as real knowledge.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting for me. Her core finding, the whole as the starting point, not the end result.
Right. She talked about kids beginning with living coherence or unanalyzed wholes.
What does that look like in practice?
Think about the melody, the intonation. A child might mimic a whole phrase like wanna go home with the right emotional sound long before they know wanna go and home are separate words.
So, like grab the whole tune first.
Yes. The prosody, the sound pattern that carries the feeling or the request, that comes first. The analysis into words, into grammar. That happens later. It's like the meaning is the origin, not the outcome of the breakdown.
So they're not building sentences from word atoms. They're starting with these meaning blobs and gradually figuring out the bits inside.
That's a great way to put it, meaning blobs. It's a shift from parts to whole loosening into parts, meaning precedes the code.
Okay. But she wasn't working in a complete vacuum, right? This whole before parts thing. It had roots.
Oh, absolutely. She was synthesizing a whole lineage, an intellectual tradition that had always been a bit skeptical of that extreme lab-based reductionism.
Right. Okay, so who was in this sort of counter-tradition?
Oh, you got to go back to Gestalt psychology. Decades earlier, Wertheimer, Köhler, Koffka.
The guys who did the visual perception stuff, like seeing the face before the eyes and nose.
Exactly that. They showed the mind grasps the pattern, the Gestalt, immediately. The whole is primary. Perception isn't just adding up stimuli.
And Peters basically took that core Gestalt idea and applied it to language learning. Makes sense. Who else?
Then there's linguistics. People like Michael Halliday. He saw language not just as grammar rules, but as a social semiotic.
Social semiotic, meaning?
Meaning every time we speak, it's an action. It's a move in a relationship. Deeply tied to the situation, the context. Function comes first. The grammatical structure serves the function.
Okay, so language as doing something with someone.
Precisely. And then you have the developmental researchers, the ones actually watching kids over time.
Like Roger Brown. I remember his work.
Yeah, Brown's longitudinal studies. He showed that meaning and grammar weren't separate tracks. They were like spirals entwined, developing together.
And low is blue.
Bloom showed that those first words kids say, they aren't just labels, like little dictionary entries. They're more like conceptual constellations.
Constellations, meaning?
Meaning they represent whole scenes, feelings, intentions. Like juice might mean I want juice, I see juice, I spilled juice. The whole event is packed in there.
Wow. Okay, so Peters wasn't alone. She pulled these threads, Gestalt, functional linguistics, developmental observation together.
Yes, to make this powerful case. Communication starts with coherence, not with assembling bits of code.
Which inevitably puts her methods completely at odds with the mainstream science of the 70s. Let's talk about that clash. Because it's not just about how you study, it's about what you believe knowledge is.
Totally. Her method was, well, deceptively simple. Observe, record, interpret.
Like an anthropologist, almost.
Kind of. She watched children, listened closely, documented how those long, holistic phrases gradually loosened into segments. She noted how repetition wasn't just mimicry, it was like scaffolding.
And her proof, it wasn't statistics, was it?
No, not in the typical sense. Her proof was in narrative coherence. Did the developmental story she was tracing make sense as a whole? Did it resonate? She trusted her careful perception more than instruments.
Okay, but I can hear the critics now. Where's the control group? Where's the p-value? How did she stand up against the machinery of proof back then?
Well, that machinery was getting pretty powerful. You had Skinner dissecting speech into stimulus response. You had Chomsky's followers looking at language like a computer program, kind of detached from real-world use.
And the ultimate weapon, the RCT, the randomized control trial.
Exactly. The RCT was becoming the gold standard. It encoded this whole vision. Truth is what you get when you isolate variables, randomize, measure differences statistically. Only what could be measured that way could be truly believed.
So Peter's approach, it just didn't fit that model at all.
Not even close. It represents a completely different epistemology, a different theory of knowledge. Peters and that Gestalt lineage, they practice what you might call a relational epistemology.
Relational, meaning knowledge comes from the relationship.
Yes, through attunement, through deep, patient, intimate observation. Validity for them wasn't statistical significance, it was resonance. Did the interpretation ring true to the observed experience?
So demanding RCT-level proof was, well, missing the point entirely.
Completely. The source material puts it beautifully. You cannot randomize attunement nor assign control groups to tenderness.
Huh. Yeah, you can't. It's like trying to measure love with a ruler.
Right. Their data were these rich, complex encounters. Small scale, maybe not representative in a giant statistical survey sense, but deeply representative in the human sense.
So demanding that kind of statistical rigor wasn't just a methodological critique.
No, it was a fundamental misunderstanding of the goal. Behaviorism measures success by replicability. The Gestalt lineage aims to reveal coherence, trying to force one onto the other. Well, the source says you kill the organism to study its motion.
That line, it hits hard.
Yeah.
And it leads us straight into the ethical dimension of all this, because these aren't just abstract theories. They shape how we treat learners, right?
Absolutely. There's a hidden ethic in each approach. Behaviorism, with its focus on measurable parts and reinforcement, its underlying ethic tends towards control.
Control, meaning?
Meaning the goal is often shaping behavior, achieving compliance. The good life is implicitly the measurable, predictable, obedient one. Think about applied behavior analysis, ABA. Its rigor is often judged by its ability to reliably reproduce specific compliant behaviors.
Okay. And the Gestalt lineage, Peter's approach. What's the ethic there?
It's fundamentally about care. The core belief is that meaning, learning, growth, they happen best when the relationship is preserved, when the wholeness of the person is respected.
So Peter's refusing to break down the child's experience into variables wasn't just a methodological choice.
It was framed as moral clarity, protecting the integrity of the learner, the relationship, the living coherence she was observing.
And this ethical stance, this focus on coherence, it had real-world applications, didn't it?
Hugely important ones. Peter's synthesis helped reframe development itself. It's not about building something from scratch, but about differentiation within coherence. The child is already whole. Development is about that whole becoming clearer, more articulate.
And this changed how people understood communication differences.
Massively. The most striking example came a few years later, in 1983, with Barry Prizant.
Prizant, his work on autism and echolalia.
Exactly. He took Peter's lineage and applied it to autism. Before, echolalia, repeating words or phrases, was often seen as meaningless mimicry, a sign of deficit, regression even.
Right, non-functional behavior.
But Prizant, using this whole first lens, saw it completely differently. He argued echolalia was often functional communication.
Functional.
As a way to participate, to affirm, to self-regulate. It was about maintaining relational continuity, keeping a connection. It was the nervous system finding coherence through familiar linguistic chunks, those gestalts Peters talked about.
Wow, that's a direct application. Seeing strategy and meaning where the old model saw only error.
It's a paradigm shift, and that lineage is alive today. Think of Marge Blanc and natural language acquisition, NLA.
NLA, that's built on this idea too.
Directly. It's a therapeutic approach that guides language development by working with those initial gestalts, those holistic chunks. It prioritizes safety and resonance over breaking things down and demanding compliance. It trusts the child's path.
It feels like Peters was way ahead of her time, almost anticipating what neuroscience is finding now.
You could definitely argue that. Neuroscience now shows language processing isn't just in one spot in the brain. It's embodied, distributed, multisensory. The brain absolutely processes patterns, context, melody. It doesn't just assemble bits like a computer.
So the whole analytic, piece-by-piece view of language might be, well, more about how we'd like to study it in the 20th century than how it actually works in the brain.
That's a strong possibility, a cultural artifact of that positivist era, perhaps. Peter's real legacy maybe wasn't a single measurable discovery. It was more like a disposition.
A disposition.
Yeah, a way of looking, a way to approach a child or any learner and ask what coherence is already here, what whole patterns are they using, instead of just measuring their ability to be taken apart.
Defending the whole, the living pattern, in an age that mostly valued the pieces. That feels, quiet, but really powerful.
And the tension isn't gone, Institutions, funding bodies, they often still favor what's easily measured, what fits the reductionist model.
But the Gestalt approach persists.
It does because, well, it works. Not necessarily in ways you can capture easily on a spreadsheet, but in the sense that children learn, they connect, they find their voice when they're met with resonance instead of regimen.
And that lack of conventional proof.
The source argues it's not a failure. The absence of unethical evidence is not failure, it is fidelity. Fidelity to the child, to the relationship.
Fidelity, yeah. Refusing to break the connection just to get a clean data point. Peter showed us language starts in that melody of connection, doesn't it?
She really did. In her question, does the whole equal the sum of the parts? It's still echoing because, as the source says, the whole has always been greater, not just than the sum of its parts, but than the sum of its proofs.
Which leaves us, and you, with this final thought to chew on, drawn from our sources. If science's greatest power lies in measurement, what crucial parts of human experience might we still be ignoring, dismissing as just noise, because we haven't yet figured out how to quantify their coherence?
What patterns are we missing because they don't fit our tools?
Something to think about. Thanks for diving deep with us today.